Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Patrick Hawe. I'm an associated member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA Civic. All trades placed by myself are placed through T3 Trading Group, and you should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial decision. Position disclosure. I think last time I was on YouTube, I had SoFi, which I had sold since then, and my latest ones are AMD and JD Long, which I will. I got those just like a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago. Not brand new positions, but fairly new. And I'll likely be keeping some AMD into the report tomorrow. I guess we'll see how it trades, but more likely than not, keeping at least a small position into it. I like where that AMD is at this point. I think risk reward is more to the upside than downside there. But anyway, just a heads up, I do have a hard cutoff by 4:45 today. I have a meeting that I have to jump into that normally I'd be doing now, but we're doing this meeting, which is obviously more important. But I do have to take care of something at 4:45, so just a heads up there. So we got Palantir as the main name reporting, trading very well after hours here. And this Palantir, I mean, just look at this chart. Been trading very, very well, very strong for quite a long time, and kind of gave me similar vibes to Meta into its report. It was just so strong and so well bid that half of you is like, or not half of you, but half of me or half of the natural trader is, well, it's up so much, upside seems like it could be capped, but the other side of that is it's bid so well, like literally every day. Um, you guys can still hear me, right? Oh, sorry, I thought I just froze for a second. Anyway, yeah, just the bid's so strong that, what's the reason behind this underlying bid? Clearly, someone really wants it no matter what. For what reason? Well, you had Meta come out with great earnings and it's been trading well ever since. This PLTR is like unstoppable. I think the measured it was pricing in a lot too. I want to say 11 and a half it was pricing in. So that gave you a move roughly to 95. It's trading above its measured move here. 97 fresh all-time highs. Seems like $100 is going to print at some point on this thing. Just a matter of if it's an hour from now or tomorrow. We'll see. But the report, this name has been trading very well, and the report honestly was pretty good. At first glance, these numbers are solid. I mean, they beat EPS, they beat revenue. Looks like they beat every number. Yeah, it looks like they beat pretty much every number, and then their guidance is pretty solid too. Estimated 3.54 billion. And they're saying that they're going to see 3.7 to 3.76 or so, but solid beats on pretty much every single number, solid beat on guidance. It's been strong and it's trading up, but it makes sense why it's been strong and trading up. Their numbers are solid. This is like their at least fourth report in a row that I can think of that, has just been kind of blowing it out of the water. And once again, they did that today. It wasn't insane, but I don't think this move is not unwarranted given that report. So we'll see how this trades tomorrow, but seems like this is going to try to print 100 at some point. I will not be surprised if between now and Friday this prints $100 for the first time. So that's Palantir trading very, very well. Let's talk about the markets and what's going on and what has been going on and what we can expect or in this case, unexpect going forward in the days, weeks, and possibly months ahead here. So coming into the open this morning, we are gapping down a lot, and I'm sure most of you know why. We had the tariff news hit over the weekend, 25% on Canada and Mexico. I think it's 10% on Canadian energy, something like that, and then 10% on all goods from China. Tariff Man is back and swinging full force. That hit the futures down pretty hard. We opened down, I think the NASDAQ futures opened down like 2.5% or something like that. I remember looking at them last night. Coming into today, it looked, a little, I don't want to say like scary because whatever, but there was a pretty big gap down, and we opened and traded lower off the open. Oh yeah, Russ. Yeah, you're right. Actually, the Russell is pretty bad too. Um, yeah, down 4% or so. I mean, overall, so again, gapping down across the board today. We actually finished up okay though. SPY finished down zero point 0.6, not nothing crazy. Q's also finished down zero point 0.6, nothing crazy. IWM down 1% or so, not great, but also not really crazy. And just a quick look at these daily candles, definitely not the worst daily candles we've ever seen. These, upper tail for IWM, but it traded up into resistance and then tailed down a little bit off that resistance. Resistance was support all of last week, but makes sense for that. But still not a bad close there. SPY, kind of same thing, traded up into last week's support, kind of stopped there, but not a bad candle at all. And same thing with the Qs, gap down, but solid green daily candle there. And what about the Dow? What does that look like? Dow, what? Yeah, they're all the same. Big gap downs across the board. Nice intraday recovery, decent closes, decent daily candles, potential pivots on the daily. We'll see. So just kind of like a recap. We opened this morning pretty weak, and it looked like the first half hour or so before this news hit, we were trading pretty poorly, like about as bad as we could. Little bit of an uptick off the open the first 10 minutes or so. Didn't even quite hit the 80 EMA on the 5-minute. I'm guessing that was a pivot off the 2-minute 80 EMA. Hopefully Derek's not watching this meeting right now, but let's find out. Oh, wow, not even off the 1. Maybe off the 1? The 1-minute 80 EMA. There you go. Don't tell Derek that I showed you guys that. But yeah, pretty weak open this morning. Very fast pivot back down. Hard, heavy selling, grinding lower. Felt like we were not going to uptick all day, and it was about to be a pretty ugly day there. And then we have news hit right at, 10 o'clock, 10:30 or so. Trump came out, and Trump spoke a lot today. There were a lot of Trump headlines today. I have a feeling that is not going to be abnormal going forward based on, history. He basically said that they had a good call with, and it was a little back and forth too. They had a good call. So Mexican president spoke, Trump spoke as well. Sounded like they had a good call. They basically said that they're going to put the Mexican tariffs on pause for a month. It also seemed like later Trump said that wasn't fully totally the agreement. I don't know, a little bit confusing there. But that was the main reason for that market uptick. And you saw some of the not like Mexico names, but ones that come to mind, like these car companies, GM, STZ, which makes Corona, upticked very well on them. But you can see like GM, really solid uptick, really solid volume there. Same thing with Ford. But total, very fast, quick shift in the intraday market sentiment on that headline. And you can see what the VIX did too when that came out. Same thing, big gap up in the VIX, little bit of a pull off the open, but V bottom to highs, grinding higher. That kind of felt like it was going to grind up all day. And then that headline hits and the VIX just got destroyed, like straight down there. That's a pretty violent move to the downside for the VIX, which eliminated the fear. And what's this? Speaking of Trump headlines, Trump says call with Trudeau went very well. Yeah, I see SPY's upticking right now after hours on that. This guy is nonstop with all this stuff. It's going to be kind of crazy going forward. So market got a solid bid off of that. VIX got destroyed off of that. Overall, so it feels like, I don't want to say like, it felt like coming into this morning and throughout last week and this first, month or whatever of the presidency, people have been kind of fearful that he's going to maybe overdo it with the tariffs. And I feel like that's been one of the, main, I guess, like tail risks or whatever you want to call it. He's going to overdo with the tariffs. The relationships are going to get messed up, this and that. And then today, this seemed to really change that sentiment, even though it's like not certain and it's just a pause for a month and the Mexico tariffs and this and that. And he's kind of doing his like art of the deal negotiation where, it's like almost like a good cop, bad cop type of thing. But it feels to me like after that came out today, people are recognizing that he obviously doesn't want, obviously doesn't want to destroy the economy or the market or anything like that. Everyone knows that. But maybe he's actually not going to be as aggressive as he sounds like he's planning on being, and that gives people hope, and that's good. And that's the reason that you saw this VIX kind of dive down off of that. And while the market upticked, we have seen many times before the market upticks strong off news, and then in the next 30 minutes or so, it's just right back down. And that wasn't the case today. We upticked, we held the bid, we held our bid all day. And after that morning kind of burst back higher, it was pretty slow and calm the rest of the afternoon here. And you can see that it was just kind of choppy, sideways, flow had slowed down a bit. Didn't really seem like they were pushing for lower and anything. It's an interesting, again, I was calling it earlier, like a change in sentiment, really, going from kind of fearful and uncertain, I guess, yeah, fearful and uncertain to hopeful and uncertain. And uncertain is the key in this, which is going to make trading over the next weeks, months, definitely fun but tricky. Tariffs and volatility is what I titled the YouTube video today, because that's, obviously the main focus here. Volatility, two-way trading is good for traders in theory anyway. Sometimes it can be a little frustrating. It depends on your style of trading. If you're more just kind of swinging and not too active throughout the day, it can be definitely frustrating. If you're more active throughout the day, it can be exciting. If you're caught on the wrong side and he drops something like that, you're short this morning and you're looking pretty solid, and then this happens, that's obviously frustrating. Vice versa, if you're long, you're frustrated, and then he drops that this morning, you're getting kind of bailed out, and that's exciting for you. But overall, and obviously it's flashbacks to 4+ years ago, and it was a little different back then. Back then it was Rocket Man. We got Tariff Man now. It's going to be a lot, I think, more, and I'm just trying to like go kind of a little bit bigger picture with, I hate doing like year out predictions and stuff, but the market, I think, is going to be set for still staying strong unless, again, things change. Things can always change. Things can develop for the worse. I think we'll stay strong, but I think it's going to be more kind of looking like these ranges and less of these very grindy, not too volatile, just grind. And obviously it makes sense just with what he's been doing, this kind of back and forth, and it's nothing new. We've seen it before, and that's also part of the reason I think that we stayed strong today after that uptick, because people don't want, the market hates it's like kind of weird, right? Because the market hates uncertainty. That is always one of the reasons it can sell off, if anything. And it's very uncertain when he goes back and forth like this all the time, what's actually going to happen, what he's going to go through with, as opposed to what he says he's going to go through with, and then he pulls back from it with the, negotiating and everything like that. So it's uncertain, but at the same time, I feel like people have learned their lesson to not just totally get scared and bailed out. I mean, you don't want to sell just because things are uncertain, right? So what does that leave with people positioning? I think it leaves people with similar positioning but more forced hedges that they have to put on. And therefore, I was kind of saying it earlier today too, I think that the VIX, we're going to see over the next, general tinfoil hat prediction or whatever, I think over the next couple of months, we're going to see more volatility, not necessarily a weak market, still a stronger market, but traders, funds, whatever, are going to be forced to have more hedges on just because of that uncertainty. But just because things are uncertain doesn't mean that you want to just sell everything and trade flat, right? Because then you're missing out, and no one wants to miss out. And people seem to be fairly hopeful for the next 4 years or so, at least financially, trader wise, and everything. So you don't want to miss out and just sell everything, but in case something dramatic does happen, you want to have those hedges on. So therefore, I don't think we're going to be seeing a VIX that's just under under 15, under 14, just that kind of dead VIX that we got for a while, back in I'm trying to think, like back here a little bit. There's been a lot of times over the past year or so where that VIX is just back to like 15, 14, even 13 handle, and the market's just very tight and grindy, and you get these, kind of grinds and tight action like this. I don't think we're necessarily going to see that, because again, people are going to be forced to have edges on because of that uncertainty. But at the same time, that just gives us wider ranges, really. That doesn't mean that just because the VIX isn't at 13, the market needs to sell off. That doesn't mean we're going to go into a downtrend or anything like that. I guess the overall point is just be prepared for wider ranges. And wider ranges means, usually what that means is lighter positioning, as well as wider targets. So, if you're trading something, I don't know, $1 back and forth or something, maybe go to like $2. If you're trading 1,000 shares, maybe go to 500 shares, just kind of random numbers. But more lighter positioning, lighter positioning with greater volatility can equal just as much, if not more, opportunity and money to make for yourself. But in terms of just building a solid swing portfolio and not really doing much with it besides just riding the trend and riding the wave, we're probably going to have to be a little bit more active than that. And this past weekend, the past week, and then today with the news that came out after the open is just a prime example of that. It's, the market is changing right before our eyes. And as traders, we try our best to adapt, right? You can't just keep doing the same thing year over year when the market changes all the time. Obviously, it doesn't change every single day, but it's clearly a shift towards that more, again, uncertainty, but still hopeful, as opposed to uncertain and fearful. Those are two things that will sell the market off. Just uncertainty alone doesn't necessarily sell us off, but it also means that the market's probably just not going to get into that lull, that, kind of just boring grind up and everyone's asleep at the wheel. It's very clear that you can't be doing that right now. Trump was speaking all day. There was multiple headlines throughout the day. And again, this kind of back and forth, good cop, bad cop. But it's nothing new. It's nothing that we haven't seen before. It's just something that we need to be keeping in the back of our heads and be prepared for. So after today, we closed well. Daily candles all look decent. IWM, SPY, QQQ, all okay daily candles. Our TLT still green, but down intraday once again. This is day 4 of the TLT gapping up and then trading lower intraday. Overall, though, that just means that interest rates haven't really moved up or down over the past week or so, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's when interest rates change rapidly that can affect us in either good ways or bad ways. But overall, just kind of thinking about big picture macro stuff, I think that's the way we should be looking at markets and approaching trading going forward over the next, again, we'll see what happens. Every day is going to be a new day for sure. I'm sure there's going to be at least 1 or 2 headlines every day hitting that kind of shock us one way or the other. But the pound's here at 100. Nope, not quite yet. But yeah, I was going to say either within the next hour or the next week, but seems likely. But yeah, wider ranges, equals lighter positioning and more active trading. Typically, that's at least the way I kind of see it, and I'll be approaching it. Again, you can trade things back and forth on lighter positioning and still make more money if the volatility is greater, and that is definitely going to be the case. There's not no way, but there's like almost no way that this VIX is just going to go to 13 and be dead in the water and we're just going to grind higher here. That's just not really the environment that appears to be setting up for us. And I think this past example of this weekend coming into today and then that news coming out this morning is just proof that we kind of got to be ready for anything. So don't get too heavy. Do whatever you want. I am not a financial advisor, but don't be too heavy. Be prepared for anything. Be prepared to, if you're swinging stuff, buy it lower, because you might be buying it lower in the morning and then selling it way higher in the afternoon. And today was a prime example of that. I think that's all I really got for today. We had Palantir earnings. Obviously, was the main name today. It's still a very busy week for earnings. Tomorrow is AMD. Again, I'll probably be holding small AMD into the report. We have PayPal, Spotify tomorrow morning, but then tomorrow afternoon, AMD, Google, and Snapchat. Wednesday, Qualcomm and ARM, and then Thursday, Amazon. And there's tons of other names littered throughout the week in there as well. Uber reports Wednesday morning. Disney reports Wednesday morning. Eli Lilly reports Thursday morning. That's another big one. So definitely going to be a busy week. There's a bunch of data this week too. And on top of that, it's again not like necessarily a new market, but the market's changing with the new presidency and these headlines that are coming out and kind of the back and forth negotiation. It's a different market. We have to adapt and be ready for it. Adapt or be left behind. That's kind of just always how it is trading. Things last for a long time, but they don't last forever. And it seems very clear to me that that's kind of the new regimen for the market here. And that's what we need to be prepared for. I think that's all I got for today. Happy to take any questions that anyone might have. Let me pull up the YouTube right now while anyone types any questions in. All right, so looks like a couple of things on YouTube. First from Sharir, thoughts on Chewy. I still have PTSD from us buying this Chewy. When was that? Like last September or something? Maybe I forget when that was. Yeah, was that 2 years ago? I don't know. I can't keep track anymore. Chewy was dead for so long, and it was one of those names kind of in that IWM space that finally took a turn for the better. And honestly, Palantir was the same way back then. And then this took a huge turn for the better as well. I don't track Chewy that much. Their last earnings report, I remember, was decent. It also had some drama with the Roaring Kitty guy who it seemed like he was in a position and then he got out of that position. But that hasn't really hit the stock back down too much. I believe that's what this tail was from back here, that a couple days or so. Yeah, I do remember that being in the summer. That was probably this day, I'm guessing. Maybe this was like an earnings report or something, and then this was GameStop Roaring Kitty guy day. Overall, though, again, can't list the numbers off the top of my head. I don't track the name that much, but people definitely love their pets, and the technicals look solid on it. I'm not sure when they report again this quarter. It's been trading very well, trading better than the market. I mean, these technicals look solid. Little gap down today, tail off. It's daily 21. Yeah, I'd want to know when they're reporting, but you had this like 38 level, yeah, about 38 or so as prior resistance. It gapped over that, I guess last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. Tested that 38 level and held, and then once again tested that 38 and closed above 38 today. So that's pretty solid. I mean, so far so good for Chewy. Again, definitely want to know when they're reporting, and you want to be careful holding into that report. But it seems like it's taken a turn for the better, and no, yeah, I don't think they report today. Yeah, it's definitely turned around for sure. And I do remember their last report was decent. I don't see it. I don't think it's this week. Yeah, no, I don't see it on the calendar. It's probably sometime in March. I'll look it up after this. But yeah, I mean it's solid. I would not fight it below today's low. I'd say good technicals. Technicals are holding well. Today's low is important. I would not be fighting it below today's low. That would kill its momentum if it got below today's low, which it shouldn't. It shouldn't. But if it does, yeah, I'd be careful fighting that. It's going to break its trend and break its momentum for sure. Today it almost risked breaking that momentum, but because it pivoted and closed well today, still okay for now. Let's see. You're swinging it, but a little heavy. If you think that you're heavy and you're not sure, you should lighten up. I feel like usually that means you should lighten up a little bit. Again, not going to tell you what to do, but better to be on the lighter side and be okay with, buying a gap down versus being too heavy. Um, but that's just me. Everyone trades differently. IDXX. Yeah, it's a solid breakaway today. Okta, yeah, I wasn't really. Oh no, that's not the same name. What am I thinking? Oklo, different name, different name. But speaking of trading strong, that Oklo is still looking good. And so is this NNE. Okta is the software name. Nice pivot today. Gap down, pivot off that daily 80 EMA. That looks solid, really solid. Yeah, they're trading up off the again a hundredth whatever Trump headline, but Trump after hours here. Bill just posted. Trump says his call with Trudeau went very well, very well. All his calls seem to go pretty well. I don't think I've seen one of him come out and say that call sucked, but you never know. You never know what can happen, especially with this guy. Going on to the YouTube from Chase. Hey Pat, if you don't mind, could you take a look at IWM? Took an IWM short at 10:15. Oh boy, I know what happened 5 minutes after that. 10:15, stop with a 10:05 candle with initial target of pre-market low. Do you think it was a good trade idea? Thanks. Let's see. Sorry, I was checking something else. All right, 10:15, 10:05. In general, I like the idea of your trade because we gapped down and we stayed weak, and this 5 minute ADMA pretty much caught up to that bear flag, and looks like maybe you're short in the breakdown of the bear flag. Um, I like it. I think you could have had a little bit better execution than waiting for this breakdown down here. I think you could have been trying it maybe on the bar or two before versus like this tail high that came in. Because again, like you had the opening rip, breaks down lower. It tries to reverse that break, pokes a new high, but can't really go. And then you get like further selling back and forth, and that I feel like that kind of signals to you that you're not just going to rip higher by this point when you're half an hour into the day or so. So I think if you want harsh criticism, your execution could have been a little bit better. But otherwise, yeah, solid idea. Everything about that makes sense to me. And if Trump didn't come out and say that trade 90% would have worked for you for sure. But you had the news hit, and that changed everything. So that's unlucky on your side, obviously. But that's what I mean with, we got to be ready for this to happen. Obviously not every day, but anything can happen at any point. And again, today's a prime example of that. So, yeah, I like the idea. I like the trade. I probably would have worked decently well for you if that news didn't come out. So, yeah, I mean, I like it. It's just unfortunate, just bad timing, unlucky timing, but that definitely happens for sure. So, what's my view on Tesla? Hang on 1 second. My view on Tesla. Tesla, I would say false breakdown today. 385 support. 385 to 380, I guess it's a little bit of a zone, but 385 to 380 support. Tried to break it down, tailing back up today. I'd call that a false breakdown. Tesla, I think, looks okay. It doesn't look amazing. It could look better, but ideally, you don't get below 380. In a perfect scenario, you don't get below 385 again, but Tesla looks pretty good. It's in this overall kind of choppy range here, so you really got to get back above, like, I guess 420 or so to have the bulls fully take back control. But I think if I had to pick long or short on this, I think I would pick long. But because so I would say that because, again, today looks like a false breakdown. But you're probably not just charging right through 400 because you got this resistance and kind of sloppy price action to get through. But I think Tesla looks okay. And it definitely had some bull flow today for sure as well. Mixed flow there, as always. But overall, I think it looks okay. And that downside tail potential false breakdown is promising for you. So, well, you might not be long it, you might be short it, but I think it looks okay. And I see this question from, hang on a second. Sorry, I gotta answer this email. Okay. What is your opinion on intraday scalp trade on QQQ 125 candle with elevated volume? QQQ 1325 candle with elevated volume right above the daily level 518. Well, yeah, you're not saying long or short. No, it's not. I gotta answer this question as fast as I can and then jump. But I try to do my best to answer everyone. It's something I have something to do at 5. I have to draft an email for it. 1325. I'm guessing you're going short, Robert, based on that. right above the daily level, 518. Oh no, actually, it looks like you're going long. Long. Yeah. Okay. Elevated volume right above the daily level, 518. Focus on retest. I like it. I don't love it just because you already had a pretty big move today and you're kind of running into some daily levels up there. But you are going with the trend there. I like it. I don't love it just because of where you are on the daily at that time. So just kind of, you're kind of looking for that second wave of follow through there. But yeah, I like it. I don't love it. But for as you're saying, an intraday scalp and not, starting something brand new, definitely don't hate the idea. But yeah, just a little tricky where you were on the daily chart at that time. So yeah, all right. I really got to jump. Have a good night, everyone. I'll see you all tomorrow morning.